Magic Gumby. Okay, Gumby, you're done. Thursday, and boy, did I I opened myself a real Pandora's box, and I'll play Pandora's box. Oh, maybe tomorrow. Okay. I opened a Pandora's box. I asked you. Oh, I added a feature to the show called Do You Remember? And I'm going to open each show with one of these Do You Remembers because I've heard that question. Do you remember when you blew up the thing and so to start off, because now all of a sudden, let me turn my mic up here, guys, sorry. Now all of a sudden, I'm telling stories, sex stories, and drug stories. All of a sudden I get barraged with stories. Oh, do you remember the night that I came in with Santa Claus and I tell you what, I almost checked myself into rehab just reading the emails. It was nuts. And so then I thought, well, okay, probably the thing that'll run through this, with the exception of the rehearsal, the Entwistle Cousin Kevin rehearsal at the end of the show, which I promised someone. Pretty much a rat race show today with regard to the direction of the stories. Takes place, many of these things take place in the clubs, the great clubs of the day: Gemini, Lemoore, Speaks, Hammerheads, Mad Hatter, Tui's, and we can't forget UB's OTJ, Oak Beach Inn. We can go on forever. My father's place. And those were great times. They were great times. And we made it out alive, which is very good. So, I decided, so many people have asked me, do you remember this and that? And the truth of the matter is, once they ask me if I remember it, I remember it. I don't know how much hard drive space you have left, but mine's getting a little low. And so there are some memories that get pushed out, like when I was when I was thinking about what I was going to do in the feature, how I was going to do it, and then I finally let it out there that I was going to do it, and I started to get emails from friends. I got some weird stuff, and it's stuff I would have never remembered in my life. My friend Don said, "Do you remember?" And I'll tell you this whole story, but it's another story for another time. Do you remember when you played at such and such a college, and the guy jumped off the bell tower and died? There's a good one. I guess I wasn't able to save him. That would have been another episode for another time. And then there's the drug stories. Obviously, the drug stories. I like I said, I started to get shaky and I was sweating. And no, but it's all good. It's all good, and I love those times. We were pretty on the edge and just playing it one day at a time. And really, the truth is, it's the best way to play it. But I have some special memories from these clubs. The both Lemoores. I think. Let's see. How could you forget Speaks? And so I'm talking to Lori this morning, and I'm going over the memories. I'm thinking about what I'm going to tell, and she says, "Well, what about the Charmin diaper contest?" And I'm like, "The Charmin diaper contest?" And I can't remember this for the life of me. And she wasn't there. This was before we were together. And what the Charmin diaper contest, and please feel free to chime in if you recall this particular adventure. Had to be late 70s, early 80s. I invited two, the thing on television, I used to parody what was going on television. I hated all the time between songs, and for whatever reason it happened, and so I decided that, there would be certain situations where I would try to make a skit out of it. I remember we used to run on stage with machine guns. It was all kinds of crap, theatrical stuff that we used to do. So And I told you I was always on the lookout for the pickled eggs or the weird thing or whatever it was, and I would also parody what was ever, driving me nuts on television commercials, which happened to be squeezably soft Charmin. So I created this thing, and I don't remember it as well as I wish I could, but I asked two very dear girl friends of mine if they would participate in a contest. And I think I had been announcing it for a while. We were going to have the, squeezably soft Charmin contest, and so what we did was I got these two very attractive young ladies, took them in the dressing room, and we made them diapers out of Charmin tissue. And then I went out on the stage, and when it was time to do the softness test, I called the two young ladies up on stage, and they came up in their high heels and their Charmin diapers, and I proceeded with the test to a bunch of ogles and ooh, and all that. And it was, listen, it's hard work, but somebody has to do it. And, that comes with the turf. And, man, I would have never thought of that again if my wife didn't remind. What about the girls in the diapers? And it took me a while to process it, but that's my girl. So, do you remember? What started this off, Steve? How did you get on to Do You Remember? Well, like I told you, a bunch of people have been asking me, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And somebody said, do you remember the night at Rockaway when the guy pulled the mirror off the wall? This is going to a bad place. And I had forgotten about it for a while. And then I remembered. Yes, I do remember that night. And playing in Queens was the difference between playing in England and France. It's a whole different thing, and it's like Queens or Long Island. It's a whole different crowd. And we had friends everywhere, and that's, it was great. So we played Rockaway, the club in Rockaway. I should actually show my little slideshow. Here we go. All righty then. We these are some of the clubs that we used to play at, Capitol and Portchester. But anyway, this particular thing happened at the Club Rockaway in Rockaway, Queens. And it involved, we had played the set, and people would get really enthusiastic when we would perform at these places, especially at the, the height of it. From 77 to, into the 80s, it was like if the whole world was Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York, we were the Who. So, it was those days. And it felt like those days. So, there's the old Gemini. Anyway, I digress. So, we're playing at Rockaway, and we end the set and go back in the dressing room. And I was always one for, I just wanted to be quiet and I just didn't want a lot of commotion after I would come off stage, especially if it was a big show, because I'd be putting everything I had into it, and I didn't want to ever be rude to anybody. I always wanted to be friendly, but I've just come off a, frickin' marathon, and it's just, that's the way it was. Well, on this one particular night, I said, can we keep the dressing room clear just for a couple of minutes? And we're all back there, and I don't know how this stuff happens, but the boys, you know the boys, from Queens, we're in Queens, Rockaway, and the boys come in. There's 4 of them, 4 of the boys. Come on in, boys. And there's the head one with the nice watch and the leather jacket. And then there's 2 backup guys, that are like supporting the head guy. And then there's the fourth guy who's kind of trailing along. You know what I mean? He's just kind of maybe just joined the boys, and he's sort of an add-on. So the boys, the head boy, calls out, "Hey, I need the bag!" And somebody, one of the secondary boys, pulls out a bag of cocaine that, I don't want to say I've never seen anything like it in my life, but the times that I did see things like it, never turned out good. And I'm talking so much, like a baggie, like a half an ounce of pot, but not pot. And so then, the other secondary of the boys goes over to the mirror. There is a, full-length mirror. This is the dressing room. Dressing room, who knew? Pulls this frickin' mirror off the wall. They lay it across between, there's couches and stuff where we sit, and they lay it between the table. There's like a coffee table, and there's some chairs in there. And the guy pinches off the end of this bag of cocaine like a frickin' pastry chef and starts writing rat race choir or whatever the hell he was doing, and the boys are laughing, the other secondary boys, and all of a sudden everybody gets interested. Our roadies come in. There's like frickin' 20 people in there, but this is the boys, and they don't care, because if they have to go back out to the car, get another bag, they're going to do that, because that's what they do. But it wasn't the case. And everybody was polite, so there's about 20 people in the dressing room, right? And so one of the boys says, "I got the bill," and he pulls out. This is the new what will we call him? The pledge boy, the also ran guy, the fourth guy. He says, "I got a bill." Pulls out his wad. Pulls off a brand new $100 bill, unbelievable, rolls it up, does some magic folding thing with the, corner turned back, and you twist it and it never undoes, and it's, everybody's like, come on, man. And so this guy's got, I don't know how much cocaine on this mirror. And everybody's, because the mirror can't move, so everybody's moving around in this line, and everybody gets the, picks up the bill and does their line, and it's not even really lines, it's just, go ahead, because you're never going to do it all, so just do what you can and get the hell out of the way. So, okay, after all of this, this goes on, this goes on, right? I think there were a couple of trips around the mirror. And finally, time to leave. The mirror is clean. It's leaned up against the wall. And the head boy says, "Okay, I hope you enjoyed the party, guys." And, now everybody's like jacked up, and now what do? We got to drive home from Queens. Okay, mistake, but... And so the secondary boys are like, they're cleaning up. They put the mirror back, or they put some of the plaster back in the wall. And the extra guy unrolls his $100 bill to find that it has been magically replaced with a single. Here it comes. And that's life in rock and roll. So I thought I would play something of the day, some Rat Race choir. I hope you enjoyed Do You Remember, because I do remember. I told you that. So keep them coming, guys. I mean, I'd prefer them be more funny than the guy who jumped off the roof, but I'll take whatever you got. So you know where I am, and here's a little bit of, I think we need some church music now. So. automotive breath, but no, because I got a lot of things to tell you about. I got an interesting email today, which also spurred Do You Remember? Only this wasn't really Do You Remember, but it blew my mind. Friend of the show, Brett King, reached out to me, I guess Messenger or whatever it was, and asked me if I remembered. He didn't ask me if I remember. He told me that him and his band, they're big fans of Rat Race Choir, and out in the Hamptons in the early 80s, they were in a battle of the bands, and you had to play original material. And someone gave someone an 8-track tape, and I'm assuming that's the cartridge, of some of our originals, and the only one that had any vocals on it, he said, was No Way I Could Turn Around, which we all know as Night Road. And I could care less. The original music probably came from me, but he said, so we learned Night Road, No Way I Could Turn Around, and we entered this battle of the bands that was you could only play original material, and they played Night Road, and they won money and a record deal with Island Records. Studio time. See, we could have used that time to put the lyrics on the rest of the music anyway, and then they broke up. So there's that. Oh, goodness. It just keeps on going, doesn't it? So now, I've got a great story for you. Let me get some. No, that's the wrong picture. I wonder if it'll. Let me just see. Let's see what we. Oh, there he is. The Bundini, the Brazzini, the drummer Breeze, my number one drumming brother from another mother. There he is in all his glory, the Breeze. Oh, and what's that? A Ford LTD. Well, that looks like Dad's car to me, Breeze. Now I have to. Breeze is sometimes he gets a bit nervous, and especially if Dad is letting him borrow his car. And understandable, because Dad was tough. Dad was hot, burning a little over boiling, but And a Breeze was truly impacted by the sternness of his Italian father. Basically scared the shit out of him. And, this is the 70s. Breeze is a young man, just coming into the business, a new fan of the band. I'm trying to get him in so that he can work as a roadie, I always like working with people that I like and that I get along with. So, I'm schooling him, dropping little bits of knowledge on him here and there. And somewhere along the way, I can't remember what we were doing, but he loved Pink Floyd. We were driving somewhere. I think we were in my Corvette. And he turns on the radio and says, "Going to look for some music?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And he's going through the stations, and he comes on Another Brick in the Wall or some Pink Floyd. And I said to him, it's not really driving music for me. So I said to him, well, we can't listen to Pink Floyd. I said, bad things happen when you listen to Pink Floyd in the car, and I'm telling you, so, change it, because I'm not into any catastrophes or any of that. And he goes, okay, Madge. And Madge, because I was Magic Steve back then. I still am, I just don't wear it on the little thing around my neck. So, I love the Breeze. So, I think we were on our way to a gig, and Breeze he had just started working for me. He had to go through his trial by fire with the management, and, everybody had to ask him questions, because now we were a huge rock sensation, so we had to do things like that. And so Breeze gets the gig, and I said, well, look, you know what? I'll ride with you. You can come pick me up, and I'll ride the gig with you, and whatever. And he said, well, okay, because he get his father's car. So he comes over, and he's showing me that his father just had this brand new stereo put in the car. Awesome stereo, worth more than the car. And I'm thinking to myself, Breeze, you know. So I go right into my tweak mode, and I'm tweaking the treble and the bass, and I'm looking at the EQ, and I'm going through all the modes and all this stuff, and Breeze reaches over. Breeze reaches over and hits a button, and I guess maybe it was a tape. Pink Floyd starts playing, excuse me. Presses a button, and we're hearing Pink Floyd, and I said, you got to turn that off, and he goes, and I'm reaching to grab it, and he's reaching to grab it, and he goes, no, Madge, no, don't turn it off, and he takes his foot off the brake, and bang! Right into the car in front of us. This is in front of my house. Nice one there, Breeze. And I scream out at the top of my lungs, Floyd! And he's sweating, and he's scared. Let me see if I can get that picture back for you. Yeah, come on. He's scared, and he's freaking out, and there he is, and he's sweating, and he's shaking, and you would have thought I had a banana to his head. So now I can't take this car, and okay. So the episode ends. We go. He does some gigs and so on and so forth. And you know, he gets chewed out by his father. Now he has no car, so he's riding with me to work or whatever it is, you know, to the gig, and because he's still training, so I got to be there when he does the first, you know, blah blah. So time goes on. Breeze becomes a schooled roadie. I mean, he's there, and he always really was very inventive and very clever at solving problems. You know, if you had something break when you were playing live, because he was a drummer, he understood what it was that it was going to take to get me back to a place where I could play. And you know, for me, my relationship with my roadies was always, you know, that symbiotic thing. It doesn't happen back and forth with, you know, I can't do what I do in that big kit and relax without knowing that there's somebody there to pick me up if I, you know, fall off the wire. Okay, so years go by, and we have there you go. This is about that time, and we've got a horse farm now. We rented a horse farm in Mayapack. Oh, there he is in all his glory. Rented a horse farm in Mayapack, and some of the guys in the band lived there, and it had this amazing, and it was in Baldwin Place, I'm sorry, but up near Mayapack off of Route 6. It was a 77-acre horse farm. There's the car. We're not done with the car yet. It was a 77-acre horse farm, and an old, this was the place where I told you it was the old barn where Mark hit his head on the door jamb and had to get his head shaved with do you remember that story? With the silver wings on his head. Same place. Only it has a cabin on it, and it's really cool. I mean, it's really, really cool because we can rehearse in this cabin. What's going on here? Oh, I see. Okay. So we can rehearse in this cabin, and we can set up all our gear. And we do that. The cabin is separate from the house. Like I said, a couple of guys in the band lived in the house, and Larry and I didn't live. Larry lived in White Plains. I had my apartment in White Plains, and that was the way it was supposed to be. But we had this cabin, and we could put all our stage gear in there. It had a little fireplace. It was really cool. And I had a picture, but you know what a cabin looks like, and this was it. Single story, nothing in there. We took everything out, just the drums and the amps and whatever chairs we needed. And so Breeze is up there one night. Got his dad's car. Got Dad's LTD. And he pulls into the horse, and it's up the Taconic Parkway. I was going to show you a picture of it, but it's pretty much in the woods. I mean, if you have a 77 acre horse farm in Upper Westchester, Putnam County, you're you're upstate. Not a lot of that going on in White Plains or Bronxville or whatever. And so, and a lot, a lot of things went on at that. We had the golf cart with the bullhorns on the front of it and the other story. But Breeze is up there on this one particular night, and I don't remember why we were taking the piss out of him, but we were taking the piss out of him. And he was getting frustrated. It's just one of those things. And we were writing. I really don't remember what we were doing, but we were writing material, and I don't know, for some reason it was Pick on Breeze night. And so he says, well, I'm not going to stand around and take this. I'll see you guys later. And he storms out of the cabin, and we laugh and don't think another thing of it. Until about 15 minutes later, we hear a knock on the door. Guys, and it's the Breeze. Let me transition for you. It's the Breeze. This is important. Okay, so it's a Breeze, and I said, what's up, man? And he said, can you come with me for a minute, man? And I said, where do you want to go? He said, can you come with me, please? And he's nervous. He's got that Breeze look. And so I said, okay, man, we had taken the crap out of him. There's Dad's LTD. So, we walked down the driveway. It was kind of a gravelly driveway out to Baldwin Place Road, which was where that was the county road that went by the house. And I'm telling you, this is in the sticks. And so what had happened to poor Breeze is he was backing up out of our driveway. There's no lights, country road. And what he did was he backed out onto Baldwin Place Road and then so far back that he went into the drainage ditch across from the house. Now, what this means is that his back tires, the frame of the car is resting on the concrete, and his back tires are spinning in midair, making no contact with anything. He's not going anywhere. In Dad's LTD. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what are we going to do? And so I look, and there's no way for me to move the car, and I said, you have a jack? And don't forget, this is 70s. With this jack, right, that jack, and he's in a ditch. The frame of the car is resting on the road, the wheels are hanging in space in this ditch, and he has to walk around, step over the ditch. He opens up the trunk and pulls out the jack. Now, on this particular car, you could hook the jack onto the chrome bumper. And so I said, all right, listen, don't worry about it. And he goes, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to get you out of here, man. And he said, really? And I said, yeah, just do what I say. So I said, get in the car. And he goes, I want to see what you're doing. So I said, all right. And I jack up the car, right, all the way to the top of the jack. I mean, it's all the way to the top of the jack. And he's freaking. And the car's suspended in space like this. And he goes, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, now you're going to get in the car. And when I give you the signal, you're going to hit the gas. And he goes, okay. So I'm standing back there behind the car. And I have one foot on the bumper and the other one on the ground. And I said to him, Floyd! And I kicked the car. And the jack tipped over. And it went out onto the road and saved Breeze's ass big time. Floyd. And we talk about oh God, I tell you what, the stuff that went up at that farm. Oh, there were kids that used to hide in the woods when we'd be rehearsing up there. They'd have parties in the woods. They stole stole a golf cart from the driving range. They put some bull horns on the front of it, and they used to drive it all over our property because there were horse trails all over this, where we were living. And I guess they used to roll a couple of and hang out in the woods and listen to us rehearse. They had it made. I mean, it's like an amusement park with a live band. And I'm sure I'll be hearing from those guys because now that we can trust each other, the stories will, I'm sure, get deeper and more. So don't forget, if you have a do you remember.
Oh.
And
I think that was him.
It was Bert, Bert Hackett. Well, that's how we got onto the Gemini thing, and that's how I got onto the Charmin diapers thing, and I don't want to, I don't like to tell too many drug stories in one day because, like I said, I start to get jittery and I'm looking up numbers for rehab, which thank God I never had to do, and I make jokes about it, and I shouldn't because there are people out there that have had some serious problems, and thank God I wasn't one of them. And anyway, so Bert, the inspiration, I appreciate it, bud. You're a brother. And I guess we got to go to the Gemini now. Let's go to the Gemini. I found this little gem today, and it really blew my mind. I was looking through my tapes, and I knew I had gotten the communication from Bert this morning, and I knew I was going to do something about the clubs and the Gemini, and I like to keep it fresh by not, I don't have a script. I just have some notes that tell me, where I'm going, and I don't have notes at a party. When I'm telling a story at a party, when you come over to my house and we're hanging out, I'm just riffing, so that's what I'm doing. Sometimes it's not so easy to remember everything, and there's usually somebody else at the party talking or doing something in between the oration stories, but I'm the only one here, well, except for you, and we're having a good time, right? So there you go. One thing I do want to say, thank you to everybody that supports the show by showing up, by sharing the show, or in any other way. I wouldn't be here having this much fun if it wasn't for all of you and your support, and I appreciate it. And we're making it better every time we can. And I do want to shout out Randy Jackson. If you haven't seen Randy's show, Randy was my inspiration to kind of do this thing. Not the format, but the fact that he was entertaining the troops, as it were. And he's been a great help to me, over the past couple of weeks, just getting things together and giving me, options and decisions to make. And I told you that I was in, if anybody caught the random cast today, let's talk about the random cast for a minute. Random cast is me being in a situation that all of a sudden I think, well, I've got to do this for the next who knows how long. I wonder if somebody would like to watch. So this afternoon, I was digitizing John Entwistle bass parts, just the bass parts themselves. I have hours of tape of him jamming, and they were usually writing tapes where he'd do something and played for 45 minutes straight in a particular mode, and then we'd look for the cherries, or he'd look for the cherries in his stuff, and we'd write a song from that, or he'd write a song from that. And so I thought, well, I better, even though they're DAT tapes, which is digital audio tape, and it's a digital signal, I don't want to take the chance that they're going to degrade. I mean, they're already over 20 years old, some of them. So I started digitizing them today in my studio, and I decided, hey, you know what, hit live. So that's what you saw. The only thing about the random cast is I don't leave it up there. So if you want to see it when it happens, and it's not that often, but if you want to see it, give yourself a notice, to get a note when I go live. And that way you'll always know, because I never know what I'm going to do. And if I think it's something interesting or funny or scary or otherwise enlightening, I want you to know you can join me. So there's that. So let's go to the Gemini and this little gem that I picked up today. As I said, in fact, I'll send this one out to Jim and Bert and everybody from the Gemini. This is an original song that I don't know how many times we played it. I won't tell you the name, you might figure it out. But if you know this one, type it back to me. If you've heard us do this song at all, give me some love. Perfect timing. Yeah, "Wanna Be Free." I mean, I had forgotten about that song. That Mark wrote that, and yeah, I mean that was Jack was new in the band at that time. That had to be 80, whatever it was, 81, 82, 81, and that was Gemini, and it's amazing. When I look at that stage, I picture all of the things that went on in that club, and if, it's God. I mean, what we did over in those clubs, and I'm not just talking about the oh, there it is. Now that'd be the Gemini down at the end of that row. That's the Triangle Shopping Center, and of course that's probably somebody who's, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. That was Gemini 2, Yorktown Heights, and wow, And I've gotten, some pictures from different clubs and stuff. People send in stuff, and I found some pictures of different things, and it's amazing that we have the internet. I mean, we are the last of the analog age, kids. So that's why all the digitizing and everything's going on, and it's it's another way to share these things and let them be out there for a long, long time. And I was gonna say something, and I gotta look at my notes to remember what it was. It's like, God, it's happening to everybody. Oh God, I was gonna tell you something. Yeah, well, there's stuff that went on in the club. Oh no. It was. Oh God. I said it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, I don't know. Now I'm having a senior moment. Wow, I'd say I'm at a loss. It was something. Oh, I remember what it was. Oh, you see. And do you do this? Do you make yourself remember, or do you cheat and go on the internet? See, Lori cheats. She'll Siri, what's the answer? Not me. I have to work the brain and remember. Since you're seeing all these pictures of Speaks and all these places, one of the do you remembers, and this is a short one, but you have to think about back in the day. This is mid 70s, 75. John, who's on here, TV John, you can call yourself out if you want to. TV used to work for the cable company back when cable. What is that? And it was in Westchester. We didn't have cable for like forever, but he was a cable guy, and he had a cable guy truck, and his cable guy truck had a cherry picker on it. And so me, being the inventive mischief person, I said, hey TV, can we go up in the bucket? And he said, yeah, sure we can. And we went all the way up in the bucket. I don't know what it was, 40 feet. He would know. You could chime in how many feet. And I said, can we stay here? And he said, yeah, we're up in the middle of Speaks parking lot. I can see the roof. I can see the water. And we sat down on the bottom of this thing and smoked a joint. He was shaking, but, just because they can. And I got to tell you, I'm
Line tech, he says.
what? Line tech. Oh, excuse me. What, do they make more money, or did they not get busted for drugs, dude?
30 feet.
30 feet? Felt like 80 feet. I felt like I was at Great Adventure getting ready to jump off the rock wall. Anyway. So I did get a request for something from Rehearsal, and I've redigitized these things now that I got the new box, so you forgot all about that. But guys made it possible for me to get the new box and digitize these things better. So this is a cleaner version of Rehearsal. It's still a crappy tape, and it's from a million years ago through a VCR, so you're not getting panorama. But this is us rehearsing, doing Cousin Kevin, 2001. This would be rehearsing for the last tour that we would ever do. John Entwistle Band, 2001, A Bass Odyssey.
I think I got the main guy.
Okay. I forgot how that one ended. God. And let me tell you what, that's one of those rehearsal tapes. First of all, that sounded to me like a Who tribute band, garage band called Who's Left. And who's right? And who's wrong? Who's wrong? There you go. And there are chances are that we said, nah, let's not do that one. But we did do that one. That's what rehearsals are for. And you saw that John, this was like a couple of tours into him getting used to use his inner ears, the in-ear monitors. And, the thing is, whoever's mixing those in-ear monitors has to be able to hear what you're hearing. So they have to be able to get into his pack, my pack, or whoever's singing. And so it's a little bit of a process. But I thought, even though that was a little bit cringeworthy, that's what rehearsal is, and you're not going to get to see it anywhere else. And doing those things with him, it was amazing, because half the time you're sitting there and you're saying, here's our band and we're playing this song from Tommy and so on. And then you look over and it's like, wow, wait a minute, that's frickin' John Entwistle. And there's this thing that goes back and forth in your head, because it's a little unreal. I have friends that visit the show that I've known for 50 years that were there the first time I listened to Live at Leeds. We were talking about it the other day. My friend Don said, I remember the first time we played Live at Leeds for you, and you stood up and said, nobody can be that good. And now I know how they did it. No, that album for me, that set a lot of tone in music for me. I knew that I wanted to be in an aggressive rock and roll band, teeth and bones, and but with a clever edge and some musical excellence. And it turned out that that's what John wanted at the time that we came together. And it was, it was just great times. It was a great band to be in, and it was a mindless time, and everything just worked, and it was a lot of fun. So I've got some great Do You Remembers from those tours too, and we're gonna get on them. Tomorrow I'm gonna I might run long tomorrow. I'm gonna pack in a lot of stuff. I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to share, and stories obviously to tell, and I can't wait to see the Do You Remembers that you guys send out after this episode. And listen, it's okay if you want to talk about mules with coffee bags on their backs, or trucks that were used to do whatever heinous things. If it had something to do with us or me, share it. I'm sure the statute of limitations has run out, so I'm feeling good. Now, of course, I don't want to press my luck. I told you about the Judge yesterday, and I haven't told you about the Camaro yet, but I did tell you about the Christmas Eve Bandit, that. And so I don't want to run out my streak here, but I've got a couple of more of those to share with you. And let's see, what else? Where else am I going? I'm just going crazy. We've been holed up in here for a while. And I'm going to start going through some of our other. Oh, I know what it was I wanted to tell you about. The thing that I'm trying to do to add to the show. The reason that I was in my studio today, well, I tell you, if I don't write it down, it's not going to get said. The reason I was in my studio today going through the digital audio tapes is I'm trying to figure out a way to perform live, and I don't want to do the send somebody a track and they put on their part, and I don't want to do the two guys at a different place, because frankly I don't know that I could do that, to be honest with you. That technology escapes me at the moment, but maybe it'll change. So for now, I thought, well, if I could play along with John to something that I know what it is, I could actually play live. I mean, all my stuff is mic'd up in the studio, and I just have to figure out a way to broadcast it, because if you were at the random cast, this afternoon's random cast, I walked you into the live room and showed you that. So I would have to start it in the control room, or I could have my producer start it in the control room, and then I could play it. And I'm not sure if I would have to do the whole show from there, but so that's what I'm working on, and that's what I'm going to be working on this weekend, because tomorrow's the last show for here, for this week, for this week. And well, let me see. I know there was something else I wanted to share with you, and I don't know. Oh yes, because we were talking about roadies. This is back in the day. Thank you. Need a sip. Back in the day, we used to rent 18 or 20-foot box trucks from a guy that we called Nasty Norm. And they were nasty trucks. I mean, nasty. This was not U-Haul or Hertz or whatever else, Penske. This is Norm's. So Norm quickly got the nickname Nasty Norm. We used to rent these horrible trucks, and they were painted with a brush, yellow and green. Nasty Norm's truck rental. And we would rent from them every weekend. And because these things were so nasty, the drivers of the vehicles were not paying much attention to them. And this was the one, you remember I told you we took the trip up to Vermont, whatever it was, 7 hours, trapped in the back of one of these fire traps, and the lights go out, and there were cops, and the rest of that. But this particular truck we had for like a week. I think we actually had a run of dates. I think we were going upstate, Croton, and whatever. Anyway, we had this truck for a while. And I remember wanting to go out and use the truck, because back in the day when you were playing high schools and CYO dances, there were no dressing rooms, and none of the staff were going to let you use their office. No. So the truck became the dressing room, and it became, in the winter, you would turn it on and use the heater, and it was a comfortable refuge from maniac high school kids, and you were one of them, it. And did a lot of hanging in the truck. So I'm out there one night, and it's cold, and we turn on the heater, and I smell this ridiculous, horrible, I don't know what it was. It smelled like a rat or something, and it smelled like food burning on. I don't know what it was, and it was disgusting, and it was like fumes coming out of the vents on the dashboard, and I'm out there with the guilty party. And I'm not going to throw you under the bus, Jan, but what? And I said, man, what is that smell? And he goes, oh, I don't know what that smell is. I said, you don't? I said, it smells like food. Have you been eating in here? And he said, well, yeah, I had some Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I said, well, really? He says, yeah. And he reaches under the seat, and he pulls out an empty box. Grease stains all over it, little Kentucky sprinkles in it, but nothing else. And I said, okay, man, what did you do with the bones? Oh, what? Put them in the heater vent. Gotta love a roadie. I should go to my laugh track. I need that. Here it comes. So, I'm gonna have to have roadie day, but it's not gonna be tomorrow. Tomorrow I've got to have some epic shit going on. It's the weekend. I gotta give you something to laugh about all weekend. I'll give you some stuff to think about too. I've got some, 8 o'clock. Well, looks like my show